You know what's bullshit? The 2020 presidential election. Oh, where to start on this? First of all, somehow we got somebody going against Trump who is actually worse than Hillary Clinton. I am sick of having to choose between the lesser of two evils. And I honestly felt so much hope in the Democratic primaries when Bernie Sanders was actually performing so well. But no, the establishment DNC didn't want any changes to be made. They don't want Americans to have the right to health care that all other first world countries have. Just go up north to Canada and every living citizen up there has the right to health care. Sure, their taxes have gone up, but if you look at it statistically, despite the fact that we aren't having our taxes raised for health care, we still are paying the most by far for health care out of any advanced nation, by a lot. Insurance companies have us all by the balls and really only see people as a number. I've needed help from them before, and they were not helpful at all. Fortunately, I actually am a pretty healthy man, so I don't even have to worry about that. But I can't say the same thing for some people I know who are even around my age that often have health problems and can't afford to get any care because it's so expensive. This isn't a Republican thing. It's a Democrat thing too. Both the Democrats and the Republicans are completely against single-payer health care, despite how amazingly it's working out for most of the world. And I mean every country that has it. Even Mexico has it now. In fact, I'm sure one of the reasons why a lot of Mexicans have been returning to Mexico might even have to do with having single-payer health care down there as well. The 2020 United States presidential election has got to be the most toxic election in United States history, by far. I am also sick of everybody who says vote blue no matter who. Somehow these people don't seem to realize that they're only choosing somebody because they're not Trump. That actually isn't a good reason to vote for somebody. If you're literally voting for somebody because they aren't the other person, then that actually means you don't even believe in the person you're voting for. That also means that you don't care about the election at all as long as Trump doesn't win. I'm sorry, that shows you actually don't have any real values and shows that you don't care and is pathetic. Now, if you really are okay with handling the lesser of two evils and somehow you think the two-party system works, which there's so much evidence proving that it doesn't, then fine, be that way. But don't go around telling people who to vote for. Don't go around saying that if you don't vote for Joe Biden, it automatically equals a vote for Trump. That is, beyond a doubt, one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. Have you guys ever heard of the Libertarian Party? The Libertarian Party is a third party that is quite conservative. Some might say even more conservative than Republicans, but I think lately it's not exactly the case. Nevertheless, they are conservative. So by your logic, if voting for the Green Party takes a vote away from Biden, then guess what? People who vote for the Libertarian Party would actually be taking votes away from Trump. Quit with your vote shaming. It's not going to get people to vote for your guy. It won't do it. Instead of actually saying vote for Biden because he's not terrible like Trump, come up with a reason for Biden, not just some reason against Trump. Come up with a reason to compel people to want to actually vote for him. I'm waiting. Still waiting. Just as I thought, you can't come up with a reason. There isn't a good reason to vote for Biden. You only want to vote for him just because he's not Trump. That isn't reason enough. You're voting for somebody to prevent somebody else. You're not voting for somebody because you believe in him or his policies. That is pathetic. And forget about how Kamala Harris will be making history. If you actually paid any attention during the primaries, you would know right away that Kamala Harris is a flat-out liar and an opportunist. I actually remember, to this very day, and still remember it, that back when Kamala Harris first announced her run for president, she promised not to take any big, giant corporate donors and only have a grassroots campaign, just like Bernie Sanders. But that was a lie. She said that simply to win over progressive voters. When times got tough, guess what? She got a bunch of big, rich corporate donors. She betrayed her word. She pretended to be progressive when she truly isn't.
Hey guys, so we are approaching the end of the month and we've got a bunch of fundraising goals, and as you know, we're not taking corporate PAC money, we're not taking federal lobbyist money, and we're really proud of the grassroots campaign that we are building and growing.
Here's another thing that she did. During the first Democratic presidential debate, and even a little bit in the second one, Kamala Harris actually called out Joe Biden for his support of white supremacists during the civil rights movement. But then she later on ended her campaign and endorsed Joe Biden. That is more solid evidence that she is a pure opportunist and will say anything she can to be on the winning side. Calling someone out for supporting white supremacists and then actually endorsing them goes to show that you really didn't care, and you only called them out just to win over some voters in the primaries. And it actually did help her polling at first, but then she did so badly in later debates that she just plummeted in the polls like crazy and had to end her campaign.
Actually, it was hurtful to hear you talk about the reputations of two United States senators who built their reputations and career on the segregation of race in this country. And it was not only that, but you also worked with them to oppose busing. So that's where the federal government must step in. That's why we have the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act. That's why we need to pass the Equality Act. That's why we need to pass the ERA, because there are moments in history where states fail to preserve the civil rights of all people.
Kamala Harris performed terribly in the primaries. So, quite honestly, Joe Biden actually picked a very poor running mate. Not to mention, Black Americans are tired of police brutality, and they're tired of extremely biased treatment from the police, and the fact that the police nowadays aren't even about actually upholding the law and helping people. They're more about just controlling and getting people to calm down and shut up. Kamala Harris, when she was the Attorney General of California, despite the fact that she's black, honestly doesn't give a shit about her race, because more people were incarcerated under her watch, especially black people, when she was Attorney General. More of them. So, if anything, this, if they do their research, is actually going to detract black voters, because they are sick of this police state that keeps unfairly arresting more black people than white people for the same crimes, or even lesser crimes.
Congresswoman Gabbard, you took issue with Senator Harris confronting Vice President Biden at the last debate. You called it a, quote, false accusation that Joe Biden is a racist. What's your response?
I want to bring the conversation back to the broken criminal justice system that is disproportionately negatively impacting black and brown people all across this country today. Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. That would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail
Congresswoman.
system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way. The bottom line is, Senator Harris, when you are in a position to make a difference and an impact in these people's lives, you did not. And worse yet, in the case of those who are on death row, innocent people, you actually blocked evidence from being revealed that would have freed them until you were forced to do so. There is no excuse for that. And the people who suffered under your reign as prosecutor, you owe them an apology.
Anyone who says Kamala Harris is a progressive is not paying attention, because she is far from it. She is definitely pure establishment and wants to run a police state in this country, especially with her record as the Attorney General. And you know what else? Even during one of the presidential debates, one of the panelists actually questioned her about her record as a prosecutor. So if even the mainstream media actually questions her record as a prosecutor, that's saying something, because the mainstream media absolutely loves establishment Democrats. Anybody who isn't brainwashed by the mainstream media knows that for sure. Much like how it's extremely obvious that Fox absolutely loves the Republicans no matter what.
You also said you used to oppose the legalization of marijuana, now you don't. You used to oppose outside investigations of police shootings, now you don't. You've said that you changed on these and other things because you were, quote, swimming against the current, and thankfully the currents have changed. But when you had the power, why didn't you try to affect change then?
I gotta give props to ABC for that.
There have been, I'm glad you asked me this question.
No, you're not.
Senator Harris, you started out co-sponsoring Senator Sanders' bill. You now say you're uncomfortable with it. Why?
And now that I'm complaining about the obviously terrible Democrat nominee Joe Biden and the obviously terrible, flat-out liar, opportunist running mate Kamala Harris, you're going to call me a Republican, aren't you? Guess what? I'm not. Every time I've registered to vote, I've always registered with no party, because honestly, both the Democrats and the Republicans don't represent my views. They really don't. And I'd rather vote for who I think is better. Typically, I vote for a Democrat because they represent my views a little more than Republicans, but still, they really don't. I'm a progressive. I want Medicare for all. Everybody should have the right to Medicare without having to pay a fortune. I don't mind having my taxes go up so somebody needs help. And yes, I don't mind having them go up to help somebody with a drug addiction problem, even if they fail to actually get through their rehab or whatever the hell the taxes are paying for. I don't mind. I think it's really selfish to be like, oh, I don't want my taxes to go up just because there might be somebody who will just take advantage of the system, or somebody who isn't trying hard enough. You're grasping at straws. You act like that people are gonna take advantage of the system like crazy. Is that the case in Canada, in Mexico, in Norway, in all the other countries that have Medicare for all? No, it isn't. People aren't taking advantage of the system at all. They're just using it to its capacity and getting help because they actually can for once afford it, while we cannot. Don't tell me who to vote for. And I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. Trust me, I will not tell you who to vote for. I don't actually care who you vote for. I don't care at all. Get your sand out of your vagina.
Don't mind Kyle, everyone. He's just got a little sand in his vagina. There's no sand in my vagina!
Or get those crabs out of your cock and chill the fuck out. Vote for who you want to vote for, but don't shame people for voting for somebody else.
Well, I wasn't expecting the video to be this long. I mean, it's a lot longer than this, actually, but I gotta cut it short. We all know from watching You Know It's Bullshit on Cinemassacre, hosted by James Rolfe, most well known as the Angry Video Game Nerd, that You Know It's Bullshit videos are supposed to be just a few minutes long. And a lot more funny, of course. But
fucking funny, huh?
I had so much to say about this election. It's just so toxic, and I'm just sick of the lesser of two evils. I'm done with that. I don't want to be forced to make that choice anymore. I'm sick of it. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Click that bell icon to add me notifications. There is going to be a part 2, but I'm going to cut out a lot of what I actually had said because it's just too long. And I'm actually going to include the part where my friend John chimes in, who's been on some videos on my channel as well as streaming to our Twitch, and actually took some free online courses for Harvard in a political certification. So he definitely knows what he's talking about. So look forward to that.